Modern humans constantly complain about back pain and insomnia, even though we sleep on expensive memory foam mattresses and fluffy pillows. We naturally assume that prehistoric humans must have suffered through terrible freezing nights, huddled together on rock-hard cave floors. But what if I told you that this is a complete myth? The astonishing archaeological truth is that our ancient ancestors were master mattress engineers who absolutely never slept on bare dirt. Even more mind-blowing, that standard, 8-hour uninterrupted sleep you stress out about every single night? It is actually a completely unnatural modern invention. Get ready to rethink everything you know about bedtime, because the prehistoric secrets to a perfect night's rest will completely blow your mind. If you imagine a prehistoric bedtime, you probably picture a miserable caveman curled up directly on the damp, freezing dirt of a dark cave. But human beings, no matter what era they live in, absolutely hate being cold, and they despise being bitten by bugs while they sleep. Our ancient ancestors were highly intelligent problem solvers who dedicated massive brainpower to upgrading their sleeping arrangements. In fact, archaeological discoveries deep inside Border Cave in South Africa have revealed the fossilized remains of the world's oldest known beds, dating back an astonishing 200,000 years. Long before humans invented farming or metal tools, they had already mastered the art of building a highly engineered mattress. So, what exactly went into a Stone Age bed? It was not just a random pile of leaves. It was a carefully constructed, multi-layered sleeping system. The top layer was meticulously woven from specific broad-leaved plants and soft grasses. They intentionally selected aromatic plants that provided a thick, highly cushioned layer of insulation between their warm bodies and the freezing ground. It was essentially the prehistoric equivalent of a luxury memory foam topper. However, the true genius of the prehistoric bed was hidden underneath. The biggest threat to sleep in the brutal wilderness was not necessarily a giant predator, but rather tiny enemies, blood-sucking ticks, fleas, and venomous spiders. To solve this, ancient humans laid down a thick base layer made entirely of powdery wood ash from their campfires. This was an act of brilliant chemical warfare. Wood ash is incredibly dry and abrasive. When a tick or flea tries to crawl through ash, it cuts their protective outer shells, severely dehydrates them, and blocks their breathing pores. By placing their woven grass mats on top of a massive bed of ash, prehistoric humans created an impenetrable, all-natural pesticide force field. The best part about this ancient mattress? The maintenance. When the grass eventually became too dirty or infested with pests, they did not bother cleaning it. They simply set the entire bed on fire. Burning the old mattress instantly killed any surviving bugs and conveniently created a brand new, sterile layer of fresh ash to serve as the foundation for their next bed. It was a brilliant cycle of ultimate prehistoric hygiene. Every night, millions of modern humans stare at the ceiling, completely stressed out because they woke up at 3 in the morning. We are constantly told by doctors and fitness experts that a healthy brain requires a solid, unbroken block of exactly 8 hours of sleep. If you wake up in the middle of the night, you immediately assume you have terrible insomnia. However, history and science reveal a completely different story. The concept of sleeping for 8 continuous hours is actually a massive historical anomaly. It is an entirely artificial habit that was forced upon us by the invention of the electric light bulb and the modern factory workday. If we look closely at our ancient ancestors, and even people living just a few hundred years ago, we discover that human biology was never designed to sleep in one giant, uninterrupted stretch. In the long, dark eras before Thomas Edison illuminated the world, the setting of the sun dictated human behavior. Without glowing smartphones or bright television screens to keep them awake, ancient humans naturally went to sleep shortly after dusk. But here is the massive twist. They did not sleep all the way through until morning. Instead, they naturally practiced what scientists call biphasic sleep, or a 2-stage sleep cycle. They would experience a deeply restful first sleep that lasted for roughly 4 to 5 hours. Then, in the dead of the night, the entire tribe would naturally wake up. This was not a moment of panic or insomnia. It was a completely normal, highly predictable biological period of midnight wakefulness that usually lasted for 1 or 2 full hours. So, what exactly did ancient humans do while awake at 2 in the morning? They used this calm, highly relaxing period to tend to crucial survival tasks and build social bonds. People would quietly chat around the glowing embers of the campfire, share stories, check the perimeter for dangerous predators, tend to crying children, or use the quiet time for intimacy. It was a peaceful, stress-free intermission in the middle of the night. After this gentle period of wakefulness, their bodies would naturally cool down, and they would smoothly transition into a deep second sleep, resting peacefully until the sun finally rose. Therefore, the next time you randomly wake up in the middle of the night, do not panic. Your body is not broken. Your brain is simply reverting back to its original, prehistoric biological programming. If there is one thing modern humans absolutely demand, it is absolute privacy while sleeping. We want our own separate bedrooms, heavily locked doors, thick soundproof walls, and maybe even a white noise machine to artificially block out the rest of the world. But if you took a modern human and forced them to sleep completely alone in the middle of a prehistoric forest, their ancient ancestors would think they were completely insane. For early humans, the idea of isolating yourself in a dark, quiet room to fall unconscious was basically a guaranteed death sentence. In the brutal reality of the Stone Age, sleeping was the single most dangerous activity you could possibly do. When you are deeply asleep, you are essentially just a defenseless pile of meat waiting to be eaten by a massive saber-toothed cat or a pack of hungry hyenas. To survive this massive nightly vulnerability, ancient humans relied on a biological strategy that modern society often frowns upon: extreme co-sleeping. A prehistoric campsite did not have separate bedrooms for the parents, the teenagers, and the babies. Instead, the entire extended family, and often the whole tribe, would sleep huddled closely together in one massive, heavily intertwined group around the glowing campfire. This giant prehistoric sleepover served two massive survival purposes. The first was simple thermoregulation. During the brutal, freezing nights of the Ice Age, sharing body heat was a highly efficient, absolutely free way to stay warm and physically prevent deadly hypothermia. However, the second reason was a stroke of evolutionary genius: the biological security alarm system. Scientists call this the Sentinel hypothesis. Think about how different people in your own family sleep today. Teenagers love to stay up incredibly late. The elderly often wake up long before dawn. And some people are naturally very light sleepers who wake up at the slightest noise. This is not a genetic mistake. It is an evolutionary superpower. Because an ancient tribe was composed of people of all different ages with entirely different internal sleep clocks, the group was never fully unconscious all at once. At any given moment during the dark night, there was always someone who was naturally awake or in a very light, easily disturbed stage of sleep. If a dangerous predator accidentally snapped a tiny twig at the edge of the campsite, at least one human sentinel would instantly wake up, scream, and immediately alert the rest of the heavily armed tribe. Therefore, your annoying modern habit of being a light sleeper is exactly what kept your ancestors from being eaten in their sleep. So, the next time you find yourself tossing and turning in your expensive modern bed, completely stressed out because you woke up at 3 a.m., take a deep breath and forgive yourself. Your body is not malfunctioning. It is simply remembering a million years of prehistoric survival programming. You are just experiencing a completely natural biphasic sleep cycle, instinctively waiting to check the perimeter of your bedroom for non-existent saber-toothed tigers. Our ancient ancestors survived the brutal Stone Age by becoming master mattress engineers with their brilliant, pest-repelling ash beds, and by snuggling together in massive, multi-generational sleep piles to create the ultimate biological security system. However, as much as we love ancient wisdom, please do not go dumping campfire ash all over your expensive memory foam mattress to stop bedbugs. And definitely do not force your entire extended family to sleep in your modern living room for security reasons. Professional modern pest control and heavy metal locks are definitely a much better historical upgrade. If this video completely changed the way you view your own bedtime routine and made you feel a little less crazy about your midnight insomnia, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more mind-blowing history myths busted. Keep wondering, keep learning, and as always, stay simply ancient.